Hey everyone! Welcome to another Stonehearth Desktop Tuesday. This peaceful Raya's Children town was made with building templates from the amazing Vasedro mod by Qface. And check it out! In one of the recent updates to the Orc campaign, Erdene now delivers this cool gong. Which... So, there it is, everyone. As of last week, the long-awaited Titan encounter is now on the Steam Unstable branch. The team didn't want to talk much about it before you got a chance to play with it because we wanted your first experience of the Titan to be completely unspoiled. Now that you've seen a bit, though, and had a chance to play with it, let's talk about how the Titan encounter became what it is today. And also, if you haven't played it and want to experience it completely fresh, now would be the time to close the window and come back when you've tried it. So, creators Tom and Tony first came up with the Titan while they were making the Kickstarter video. They wanted a cool endgame challenge to threaten your town, so they picked a Cthulhu-like monster because it's a neat twist on the standard town defeated by dragons fantasy meme. There's a synergistic reference in there as well because Lovecraft is often associated with madness, and giant madness spirals are how most games of Dwarf Fortress, by which Stonehearth is heavily inspired, end. We didn't actually start working on the Titan encounter until January of this year, until we had a reasonable idea of the tier progression and what the endgame looked like for our towns. Artist Ali and engineer Angelo recreated the original Kickstarter model, because as some of you may remember, Tom is notorious for not saving his work, and the original model for the Titan was lost in one of our many moves, on a stream, and modified it to be chunkier, to better fit our evolved aesthetic. The first time we tried adding the Titan, now named Gary, to the game, however, we immediately ran into gameplay problems. First, how big was Gary supposed to be? Here we've got him mocked up at various sizes, and at the size we felt he ought to be, which is larger than a house, it would make sense if he destroyed your buildings. But would that be fun or enjoyable if you'd spent a lot of time creating them? What if you couldn't kill Gary in time to save your amazing basilica? Also, animations and pathfinding that worked for a character of Hearthling proportions looked terrible and clipped through everything when the Titan was the size of a house. Furthermore, how were you supposed to defeat this giant thing? If it's in the world like all the other monsters, the obvious answer is combat, but without a major overhaul, existing combat was super unsatisfying against this giant guy. Guys would run in and hit his ankles, and the feeling in general was that you ended up paper-cutting this supposedly epic monster to death. Clearly, a dramatically different design for this challenge was required. The answer that designer Luke, artist Melly, engineer Max, and artist Ali eventually came up with was actually quite similar to a picture that QA analyst Relis made for a discourse contest back in 2013. Instead of having the Titan appear in the world, we'd have him appear off the edge of the map. He'd have a giant health bar. He in fact turns the sun and all the weather into himself, and this health bar is whittled down by defeating enemies he's placed in the world, forgotten shadows that are summoned into Hearth through gates. One thing that was still unsatisfying about this, though, was that designer Luke felt strongly that Stonehearth was a game about everyone in your town coming together to fight off a great evil, and so if you weren't a militarily focused group, how could your other Hearthlings contribute? We originally had intended to have 20 Titans, in fact, so we'd actually come up with all sorts of things that those other monsters could do that were not combat-oriented. Perhaps there'd be evil plants that would spread and take over the world if you didn't harvest them, or mine down into their roots to kill them, or maybe there'd be traps that caught your Hearthlings that you'd have to defeat, or blights that would go after your crops and force you to diversify your food sources. Maybe instead of having the Titan physically attack your houses, he could send agents into the world that would destroy them, and you'd have to rebuild. We eventually decided to combine all of these ideas into making a single, strong encounter that could be overcome in many ways by lots of different kinds of towns, as opposed to multiple linear encounters which could completely hose a town that was not prepared for that encounter. In so doing, we felt that we fulfill the spirit of Stonehearth by enabling every member of your town to participate in defeating the boss monster and protecting their corner of hearth. So now, when you trigger the Orc Gong, expect a wide variety of challenges, from tentacle traps to house destroyers to monster portals to evil storms to horrible plants and roots that spawn all over the map, and eradicating each through a combination of mining, harvesting, and combat will eventually help you drain the Titan's energy until his hold on the land is lessened. And that's what's going on with the team this week. We're incredibly excited to be getting the Titan to you at last, and we look forward to your thoughts. In particular, the version of the Titan encounter that is on the Steam Unstable branch is still very early in terms of tuning, so we'd love your feedback on its difficulty, how easy it is to tell what's going on, and whether in general everything feels okay. We'd also love to hear how your towns fared against it, here in the comments or on our forums at discourse.stonehearth.net. You can also find us on Twitch. Every week, a different member of our team streams our progress at www.twitch.tv/Stonehearth. See you then, or see you next week!